Hey there everyone, Pal here, and welcome back. Today I have some early impressions from the first roughly 9 hours of gameplay with Fallout 4, the first 12, 13 levels in the game. I'm going to do probably 2 or 3 videos on this game overall, but I know with Battlefront coming out in a week now, and then there's Bloodborne expansion, that the other videos for the late game overall encompassing videos for the entire game are going to take some time to make, so I wanted to put a video together early on. I ended up taking yesterday off work, and I spent basically all day playing. I went to bed feeling awful, like I sat in my chair all day and like a horrible human being, and I'm going to try and make up for that today. But yeah, I think I got a pretty good handle on the early game experience and my thoughts and opinions on it. They're kind of mixed on it. Overall, I think it's a good game. I've enjoyed so far what I've played very much, but it does have what I found to be one glaring weak spot. And the whole time I was playing these first, let's just say 10 hours, I could tell there was something that wasn't quite right, but I couldn't put my thumb on it. I slept on it, I woke up this morning, and it hit me like a rock what the problem was. And it's funny now that I realize it, I look back through, I realize Skyrim had the same problem, Oblivion had the same problem, Morrowind had the same problem, New Vegas didn't though. And we'll get to that. Let's start with the good, because overall I do think it is a good experience. Gameplay wise, it is far more like New Vegas. In fact, it's slightly better than New Vegas in my opinion. We're talking the shooting, the looting, the running, the jumping. Those elements I believe are slightly better than New Vegas. Obviously Fallout 3 and New Vegas took the roll dice in the background and kind of made it just much more of a shooter. And this keeps that element. There does seem to be some slight die rolls in the background when it comes to things like critical hits, but for the most part, if you put crosshairs of a well-aimed sniper rifle on a target's head and shoot and they don't move, you're going to get a headshot. If a target's within your iron sights and you shoot, you're going to hit the target. That was not something Fallout 3 did. If you've never played a Fallout game, maybe another one you know is the difference between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 was very much the difference between Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas in terms of gameplay. Mass Effect 3 or 1 was very much a dice roll in the background. You could have your crosshairs perfectly centered and miss because of the dice roll. 4 is much more like New Vegas. Maybe even a little more snappy, a little more precise. The gun handling feels relatively good. It doesn't feel like Destiny, it doesn't feel like Killing Floor. It's not that snappy, it's not that precise, but it's adequate enough. Fallout 4 also has a much improved crafting system, both in terms of the big announcement of the building your town and settlements, but also just in terms of weapons, armor, and survival materials. So let's start with those first. Gone is the days of weapon degradation, armor degradation, where your equipment will fall apart. Your stuff just has full durability all the time. There's no durability stat at all. You no longer need to carry around 3 of the same type of weapon, and constantly combine them together to repair weapons. You find a good one that you like, you don't really need to worry about picking up the other ones, at least not for durability reasons. There might still be a reason to pick them up again. This is, I think, a good change. Overall, just getting rid of that, because I think that repair system was more of an annoyance than anything else. I can understand why it was in there, and it definitely did bring a bit of an element to the game that meant conserving your good weapons, making sure you had them. That all seems to be gone. I don't miss it. I think that's okay. You can now also modify your weapons, and this was something they showed off pretty big in the trailers. Very early on, you can get access to a weapon bench, and in that you can change out scopes and butt stocks, and change the barrel to a long barrel or a heavy barrel, change the loading system, and you can really tweak weapons to quite a good extent. There are some skills that are required to do this. For the most part, the base first 3 options in each weapon are unlocked automatically, but then if you want to get some of the advanced ones like a laser sight or some really crazy things, you need different perks that you can get while leveling up in the system. It feels more streamlined. It feels a lot easier. You don't need to just focus on a crafter in order to be able to craft. And I like this system. The cooking system's been overhauled very much the same way. As long as you have a cooking fire there and you have meat, you can cook. You don't need some crazy high survival skill in order to know how to throw meat on a stove and grill it up. No, it's pretty straightforward. And as such, you can make a lot more crafted aid materials to keep the game going. I don't really have any complaints here at all. I think it's all very, very well done. The other side of the crafting, the settlement crafting, actually brings around some very interesting aspects to the game that it never occurred to me, but I think Fallout might have been missing. That is survival elements. And from what I understand, if you played New Vegas on the highest difficulty, the survival difficulty, you needed some of this. I never played it on that difficulty. To me, most of the aid items were just replenish food, replenish health, replenish whatever, and then use Radaway. But it was just, they were health packs for the most part. I never felt like I was trying to survive in a wasteland. I was just kicking the wasteland's ass until I came across some really high level enemy, and then I was running away but I was not surviving. The new community system, or whatever they're calling it, has a H1Z1, a DayZ type feel to it. Now when you go out, you're not just out there adventuring for your own good. You're also trying to set up a surviving, functioning settlement. And I think you can ignore this if you want to, but doing it does make the game feel much more like a zombie survival game, which it kinda is and kind of isn't. And I do like the element that this brings to the game. Now when you're collecting items, you're not picking up, since you no longer have to pick up weapons or armor because you need to combine them to repair your old items, you can now pick them up because they can be broken down into materials, which can then be used to improve your settlement. Everything. Every item you can possibly find, a broom, a wrench, a weed whacker, they can all be broken down, and then they're going to give you screws and rubber and steel, which can be used to build walls and turrets and beds and all this stuff, improving your settlement. So while you don't need to pick up those items anymore to keep your gear functioning, there's still an incentive to pick them up for the survival element in this settlement to keep going. And I dig it. I really do dig it. I think it adds a real nice element. If you're a hoarder, if you're a junk rat, if you're one of those people that needs to pick up every single item, it might be a little overwhelming. You're going to be making a lot of trips back and forth between spots because you can't carry nearly as much items as they drop, especially because now the brooms and stuff have uses for them. Very early on, you're going to have to learn. Sometimes you just got to walk away. Pick up things that have extremely rare, useful components, anything that's going to have electronics in it or glass in it, you're going to want to pick up. But if it's just got some steel, you're going to have plenty of that. You want to just skip over that. And that's the goods. Overall, the beginning, first, say 10 hours, that part has all been very enjoyable. Now the part that I couldn't quite put my finger on yesterday, and some of this I feel bad for Bethesda because they didn't stand a chance with this one, but it's very noticeable now. And that is, while the main story, I think the writing on it is actually pretty good, what was missing from the game, what's missing from Fallout 4, at least the first 10 hours, is personality. And it's kind of funny because when you watch the trailers have a lot of really clear personality. The little Pip-Boy and the Vault-Tec guy and the little animated GIFs they do to show off the talents all have a lot of personality. But when you actually get into the Wasteland, 90% of the NPCs, I could have voice acted them. They're all very monotone, they feel beat down by life when you're talking to them. And thematically that fits. It does fit thematically, but it's very forgetful. Very, very forgetful. And I never realized it, but this seems to be a problem that Bethesda's had for years. So when I go back and I think back through Fallout New Vegas, which wasn't Bethesda primary studios, it was published by Bethesda, but it wasn't made by them, had some very memorable characters. And I don't think I realized at the time, but this is a large part of what's made that game stand out. There were just some awesome characters. I mean, Caesar was a sociopath, but he was very interesting in what he was doing. The very first character you meet, not the doctor, but the robot with the cowboy face that digs you out, he's kind of cool. Like, there's obviously something a little weird going on him. He's a little hacked out there. The other Securitytron, the one that Benny, the guy that shot you in the head, made, that wants to not be your friend, but is programmed, and he'll very much tell you that. Very interesting characters. There's those ghouls that are up in the rocket shipyard that are trying to get to Mars or whatever, and they got the human there that thinks he's a ghoul, but he's not a ghoul, and they won't tell him. Very interesting, funny, sporadic characters. Probably my favorite one, the one that can become your companion, is the super mutant that thinks you're her grandson, and oh, hello there, dearie, and all. Hilarious characters. Fallout 3, name me 3 characters. I remember you're looking for your father, and that's basically it. There was like that one vampire type guy, but he was just very dull and dreary because he's a vampire and he's goth. There weren't any very memorable characters. Go back to Skyrim. Not a whole lot of memorable characters. Everyone is very monotone, very just even keel. Oblivion, Morrowind, very similar problems. And when I look at games like when I look back, compare Fallout 4 to New Vegas, it definitely fails. But then it's even exacerbated by just this year, Witcher 3 had some amazing characters, some very well voice acted characters. And while the lines in Fallout 4, the story plots in Fallout 4 aren't bad, they're just not expressed with any real personality. And as such, you feel, rather than playing a story, I'm just going from marker to marker on the screen and completing objectives rather than completing a story or taking part in a story. And that's where the game so far seems to be very much failing, and it's really disappointing. It just doesn't seem like they put any money or voice talent into the voice acting, and it's super unfortunate. That said, overall, the gameplay experience is still really good. If you're someone that likes just adventuring out into the wilderness and trying to survive, see what loot you can get, leveling up a character, you're going to have a great time. But if you need that narrative-driven experience, if you need the quests to keep you following, you might find this game a little lackluster and a little unfortunate, or a little lackluster and a little underwhelming. Me, I'm somewhere in between. I don't mind just going out and making my own way. I can enjoy that. But now that I've identified it, every moment that I play where I'm just talking to generic NPC with no personality, I instantly like, oh man, this guy's just really dull. And boy, Bethesda, I feel bad for you guys, because if you didn't have Witcher 3 out this year, we probably wouldn't have I probably wouldn't have realized, but it's super obvious right now. I think that about covers it. I think it is a positive experience if you're one of those gameplay-driven gamers, but if you're a story-driven gamer, you're not going to like this very much, I don't think. Till next time, the next video will probably be Battlefront, but you're going to see more of this game before it's all said and done. Till next time, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.